Hello, my name is Jeremy with Faithful Guardian Training Center. Today we're going to be talking about communications. Communication, that's going to refer to specifically how the radios communicate with each other, how you can communicate with the hospital, and those such things. And a lot of this, since we may not be using it very frequently, is going to rely on your memorization of the topic. So you may have to refresh on it multiple times throughout your course or prior to testing. So it's just one of those things that we don't use often, so we're likely going to forget these key concepts that you will be tested on. First thing to understand is that a base station, that is any radio hardware containing both a transmitter and a receiver in a fixed location, such as your 911 dispatch. They contain a base station. Us on an ambulance, we do not contain a base station because we are not in a fixed position. Now, you have a channel as well. You can have multiple channels, and a channel is assigned a very, very specific frequency. And that frequency is going to be the way that the radio waves actually move, and how they transmit that information from one transmitter to one receiver. A transmitter sends the message away, a receiver receives the message and translates it into something that you and I can understand. Next, you have a dedicated line. It's used for point-to-point contact. Whenever you think about a dedicated line, think about the old war movies where they would have these linemen that would be running wire from one point to another. They would be running wire from a command post to the front line in an effort to allow a direct point-to-point contact between one another. The way that most of us operate now, we're operating with radios, and that's going to be the VHF, UHF frequencies. So very high frequency and ultra high frequency. Very high frequency is going to operate from 30 to 300 megahertz, and ultra high frequency is going to operate from 300 to 3000 megahertz. So you're essentially just adding a zero to the end of your number, and that gives you your range. So 30 to 300, 300 to 3000. And that's just the frequency at which, again, that information is going to be sent from one person to another, or one transmitter to one receiver. Now, a repeater is something that can receive information on one frequency and then transmit it onto a second frequency. And that is going to allow messages to be traveled over long distances. So, for example, if you are trying to send a message 15 miles, but your radio only has a 5-mile radius, your radio will send its signal to a repeater, and that repeater will send that message another 5 miles, and that repeater will send it to another repeater, where it will finally get received at its intended target location where that frequency is. And so that's a very important concept, especially for rural EMS, because you may not have very many radio towers. You may be stuck out there for a while, lacking radio contact in some cases due to poor radio service. Now, telemetry is something that we use on the ambulance in regards to our cardiac monitor. Whenever we are taking our cardiac monitor and we are sending the hospital a rhythm, or we are sending the hospital a 12 lead, we are using telemetry, or also online medical control whenever we are sending that. And that is when we are measuring vital signs, and we're sending them from one terminal, which is our cardiac monitor that we have in front of us, and we're transmitting that over a signal, over a wavelength to the hospital, who's going to receive that information, and they're going to be more adequately able to deliver care as soon as you arrive to the hospital with your patient. You'll use this for calling STEMI alerts, or heart alerts, or sepsis alerts, or stroke alerts even. Any type of alert that you're needing to get information in the hospital. That way they'll be ready for your patient whenever you arrive. That's really the main purpose of telemetry. And these are the big key concepts that a lot of people overlook and a lot of people forget. And it'll catch people up on testing. So be sure to pay attention to these concepts.